Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Nobody plays them.
Hello and welcome. It's another Superbike show and we are live. This is Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester and welcome to the show. Yes, we're back again for another couple of hours on a Thursday night talking about bikes, mostly. MotoGP, we'll dip our toe into that. Plus as well, finding out who you voted for as Rider of the Day on Bank Holiday Monday. It was BSB, it was Alton Park, and we want to know who you think outdone themselves, did a fantastic job, and not necessarily the person who you thought might be leading the championship at this point, but anybody who might have outperformed, potentially. We want to know about it. That's one of tonight's big debates on the show. My name is Lester. We've got Liam Hodgins here. Hello and welcome, Liam.
Hello, Lester. Good evening. It's a Thursday evening. I'm hoping it's actually a little bit warmer for you down in England than it is up here in Scotland. It's chilly up here.
No, it's not.
That's okay. That makes me feel a lot better. So, I've actually had to put my heating on. It's that cold.
Okay, well, maybe it is not that quite bad. But yes, Liam is currently up north, right up north, all the way up north in Glasgow.
Yes.
So
the city of prosper and fun.
I've heard it called something else, but anyway.
We won't get into that.
So we are live as we are streaming this, and we are streaming on Facebook, on the website motorsport.radio, and we're streaming on in audio as well, so you can download an audio copy of this show if you want. I don't know why. And also we're streaming on Twitch, don't forget Twitch, and also on, what's the Twitter, that's the one. I always forget Twitter. And
never forget the twits.
And YouTube's as well. Shall we say that we're just streaming in lots of different places? I think.
Yeah, we'll go for that.
There's literally no excuse for you to not be tuned in. Hello to everybody tuned in but already on the BSB and fans Facebook page as well, where we have recently put out the question, who was your rider of the day? We'll get onto the initial poll about that in just a moment. But first, Liam, MotoGP, and it was one of about 20 different races in Spain this year, and it was the actual Spanish Grand Prix for a change.
Yes, it wasn't the Aragon Grand Prix or the Valencian Grand Prix or whatever else you want to call it. It was the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez, and it's a beautiful circuit. It's one of the circuits that everyone tells you to go to. I've not been there myself, but one day I will hopefully get there. And it was the dominant Marc Marquez again, taking his second win of the season. Could have been third win of the season, but unfortunately for Austin, it makes it his second win. And it now puts him one win in the Premier class behind his teammate Jorge Lorenzo. So Lorenzo's on 47 and Marc Marquez is now on 46. So
now, what did you say this time last week on the show about Lorenzo and his history and whether he would do well?
Why did you have to bring this up, Lester? Why? I said he will do well and I think he will get a podium, okay? And to be fair, all weekend he showed flashes of good performance. He was good in warm-up and then he was awful in the race. Once again, he has not scored a top 10 finish in MotoGP since he won at Austria last August.
Well done for winning the warm-up Grand Prix, or the reverse grid race anyway, Lorenzo. But
I was hoping you would skim over that and just let me move on to my next point.
No,
yeah, well,
but you can go on to your next point now. So.
Yeah, I can go on to it. And Lorenzo's going to be looking over his shoulder. Well, I think he has to look forward first of all, but then we'll be looking over his shoulder for Marc Marquez, who will be steamrolling his way past him in the wins category in the next few races, I believe. So Marc Marquez decided to test the carbon-framed Honda, which Stefan Bradl had raced at the weekend. And he came out of the weekend feeling it had some positives and some negatives. So they tested it on Monday. It saves a bit of weight and it also gains a bit more flexibility within the chassis. So Stefan Bradl spoke very highly of the chassis. Marc Marquez tested it and he's very happy that him and Stefan Bradl share the same opinions of how it works. So we might be able to see it later on this year on the grid in one of the races. Marc Marquez says they probably won't race in 2019, but we know how KJ, Marc Marquez and Honda can be, so we could see the more carbon chassis later on in the season. And Alex Rins finished second in the race, so it makes it a back-to-back podium for Suzuki for the first time in, I think it's going back to Kenny Roberts at the 1999 races, where it was Sepang followed by Motegi. And funnily enough, that was the last two races that Mick Doohan ever contested before he broke his leg at Jerez a couple weekends later. So the first back-to-back podium since then. That's crazy. You would have thought that Kenny Roberts Jr. done it in the year 2000, but he didn't. So over 20 years, the first time that Suzuki have had back-to-back podiums. And it was that man, Alex Rins, who now puts himself within 1 point of Marc Marquez at the lead of the championship. Suzuki are looking really good this year, and they're looking so good that even one of the marshals decided to try and take a piece of memorabilia from Rins' Suzuki. So if you saw this, it was brilliant to watch. Even Alex Rins had to laugh it off. But the funny thing was, it was broadcast live on TV, so the guy was caught red-handed.
What did he think he was stealing? For those who haven't actually seen it, just explain what went on. I believe it's widely available to look at on the internet. But yeah, there was a live from the... it was sort of behind the front forks within and under the fairing. And it faces back onto the rider, but Alex Rins was climbing fences, and a marshal decided that he would try and be lucky and cheeky and try and steal one of those sort of foam or the sort of cap things around the brake oil thing. I can't remember what it's called. And basically took that off and tried to that has to be like the crappiest prize to ever go and try and impress your mates in the pub. Oh, yeah. Hey, look, guys, I've got the cap from a bike that I found live on TV. And everyone would be like, whatever. Well done. Well done, Joe. But... Not saying he was called Joe, but it was quite funny because Dorna instructed that the marshal come up to race control, and they instructed him to then go to Suzuki and apologise and give him give the team back the piece of bike that he took. And it's quite funny because Alex Rins was asked if he'd seen this, and he went, basically this is what he said: "Yeah, I've seen the footage. It was incredible. I don't have a word to define what happened. It was like the brake fluid tank cover or whatever, and I'm sure it's already on Wallapop, which is some sort of Spanish website for selling second-hand equipment." So he's having a bit of a laugh and joke about it, which is great for Alex Rins. It shows that he's got a bit of sense of humour. And he just said that he'd probably see that the thing would be going for €1,000. And if ever did see it on this website called Wallapop, he would try and buy it back and maybe exchange it for one of his knee sliders. So, hey, if the marshal got away with that and he did put it up on this Wallapop website and Alex Rins had seen it, you'd be getting a great bargain, getting a knee slider from the person that's second in the world championship. So it's a bit of fun. So what's it called again, this Wallapop thingy? Wallapop. It's a Spanish website for selling second-hand equipment or selling things second-hand. All legal stuff, I'm sure, yes. I'm definitely not going to check it out later. You probably won't be able to find it in the black market. No. But thing is, though, I mean, not to keep going on about this, he could have just got that little cap from absolutely anywhere on the planet and just said, here's a thing that fell off someone's bike at the weekend, and I was a marshal there. Yeah, if you just write Alex Rins on it, there you go. You can maybe sell it off as Alex Rins' and because literally the only thing you'd need to do. Anyway, let's not get into it. But anyway, moving on. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So moving on from Rins and his stolen piece of bike to Dovizioso, who probably would have wished that he had a bit of bike stolen after the weekend, because to be fair to Dovizioso and Ducati, they came into this weekend knowing that this was one of their worst circuits in the calendar, and to be fair to them, they both performed pretty well. Now, Andrea Dovizioso has never scored a podium in the Premier class at Jerez. Ducati haven't won a race at Jerez since Los Capirossi way back in 2006, and the only person that was on that grid that day that's still racing is Valentino Rossi. That's how long ago that was. It was ages ago. So, as you could see on the TV screen, when Andrea Dovizioso was losing a bit of time to the riders in front, to the Yamahas, and Alex Rins was catching him, there was an overhead shot, and mid-corner, that Ducati through turn 2 looked sluggish, looked horrible to ride, while
Alex Rins just zipped up behind him and looked so comfortable. So you can still see that Ducati have got horrible issues with their mid-corner speed, and it's something that they know that they have to work on. So in the test after the race, the Monday test, Dovizioso was a little bit upset that he found out that Honda had a new chassis to test while Ducati and Dovizioso only had setup changes to make. So they didn't really find too much. But one thing that did come out of it is quite good, that Andrea Dovizioso has, well, another test coming up in a few weeks' time at the Misano circuit, because he will be competing in the DTM series. So that's something for him to look forward to. So
DTM.
Right.
Now, I've never heard of that. What is it? It can't be bikes, surely.
It's four wheels, and it's a German touring car series. So it's a great championship, and he's going to be replacing Pietro Fittipaldi, who races for the Audi team, but he's got to go off and do Formula 1 duties over the course of that weekend. So since Audi own Ducati, but they're both owned by Volkswagen, then they've sort of drafted in Andrea Dovizioso to drive. So it's a bit surprising, because I thought they would have tried to get another racing driver, but they decided to go for Andrea Dovizioso. It's a great marketing ploy, but at the same time, will he be up to scratch? Well, we don't know.
I did think maybe that, yes, they might have announced that Dovizioso doing I believe it's his first ever proper car race, to offset the fact that the team won't be running the Minion window sponsorship from, I think, where is it? The next round?
Yeah.
Or
it's only the next round they won't be running it, but it will be back.
So.
Yeah, so they're dropping it from the French round because, France have clamped down on the whole cigarettes thing a lot more than a lot of countries have. Not all countries, but most of countries have. So they won't be running it at all.
So I did think that was just a nice bit of, in terms of PR, it came out around about the same time, didn't it? And it seemed like really well-timed announcements that, it would just be the Ducati team. And also, the riders will be able to design their own bikes from the next round. Oh, and by the way, Dovizioso is going to be racing a car, so let's not mention anything about the cigarettes. So, I just thought with my PR hat on.
Well, yeah, that's actually a very good point to make. To be fair, when I first saw it, I just thought it was a test. I just sort of skimmed over the headline and was like, it wasn't until I read later on in the day, it was like 7 hours after it came out, that he was actually racing in DTM. And I was like, what? This is mad. So it'll be great to see him racing in DTM. It'll be something. It'll be great for the DTM championship, because Andrea Dovizioso will bring a whole lot more fans over to the championship from MotoGP. So if no one's ever seen DTM before, then they'll probably check out. And you never know.
It's usually good racing. I mean, I don't watch it every single round, but it's just as good as every other championship, I suppose. And also, you might have watched one of its support categories in DTM, just a total sidetrack.
Oh, yeah.
At the weekend, which was live on Channel 4, the W Series. That's on the DTM package as well. Just thought I'd say. Anyway.
Yeah, W Series done very well in its first weekend, I believe. But we'll probably talk about that in the Monday Motorsport Show.
No comment.
But yeah, Andrea Dovizioso, it'll be great to see him in DTM and see how well he does. You never know. If he does really well, he might just switch 2 wheels for 4 wheels. Fingers crossed he won't, because we want to see him battle Marc Marquez for the 2019 championship, which he believes he can do, but he feels like Ducati needs more of an improvement. And by the pace that Honda seems to be turning new chassis out, and of course Marc Marquez being Marc Marquez, Ducati and Dovizioso need more of a weapon than what they've got. But you never know. They might bring something new from Mugello in a couple of rounds. They always do well there, and they've always got something in their back pocket for that round. And unfortunately, moving over to Yamaha, it wasn't the best weekend for them. Some riders done better than most. Looking at the Sepang International team, they got a 1-2 on the grid. Fabio Quartararo, the youngest ever pole setter in MotoGP, taking that from Marc Marquez, which he set back in Kota back in 2013. So he beat him by about 42 days or something like that. So youngest ever pole setter. His teammate Franco Morbidelli was starting next to him. It looked fantastic for the Sepang International team, as the monster Yamaha factory team looked to be struggling. But it went from a a great weekend for Quartararo to despair for him, as he was comfortably in second place. And to be fair, pegging Marc Marquez at 2 seconds, and halfway through the race, it was an issue for him as it went down towards the Pedrosa corner. And it turns out to be, it was a gear linkage failure. So people that understand motorbikes, the mechanical side of it, probably know this a lot more than I do, but it's sort of the gear shift load cell, which is made up of 2 linkages that connects it connects to the sensors basically, and it basically tells the bike that the rider's changed gear. So that stopped working. So
the gears.
Yeah, so the gears went. So or the gear linkage went. So
yeah, I know him well.
You couldn't change gears anymore. So yeah, I thought you might, Lester. I thought you might know what I was talking about there. But yeah, Fabio Quartararo was looking amazing at Jerez, and it's not the first time this year he's been looking amazing. He was outperforming Franco Morbidelli. He was in front of Maverick Vinales. He was way in front of Valentino Rossi, and he looked like he was going to be on for his first ever podium, which would have made him the youngest ever podium position rider in MotoGP. But we've got to wait another couple of weeks to see if he could do it again. But the good thing was he managed to top testing on Monday and blitzed the next Yamaha by about 0.8 of a second and set a new record around the circuit.
Not bad. Also, did you see what happened to Marquez? I think it might have been on the Monday, because at the time I thought, is this when did that happen in like morning warm up in the race or something? like that?
Yeah.
His fall when he thought about coming into the pits and then thought against it, and then eventually made a last minute lunge into the pits and then slid and then dropped his bike and then landed right on that dodgy shoulder of his.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. It did actually happen in morning warm-up, so we were getting chased around at the start of morning warm-up, and then an issue once again happened with the Honda. So the Hondas are looking so fast, but at the same time, they're not looking reliable. So I think Honda's trying quite a lot, because basically they've been trying something weird and new with the sort of swinging arm and chassis and the sprockets to give it a bit more engine power, or make the engine a bit more manageable for the riders. Yeah. So that's basically how the chains have been coming off in the last few rounds. They believe they've fixed that, but then again, that opens another can of worms for other things to break down. So that's kind of what happened in morning warm-up. And yeah, as you said, his little legs couldn't stop him from tipping over.
Oh, it did look funny, but then I thought, ooh, his shoulder might just.
I think his shoulder is all right now.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he'll never tell you that it's not, but anyway. MotoGP, Marquez was the winner, if you didn't already know. Alex Rins second, and then Vinales in third, Dovizioso fourth, Petrucci in fifth, then Rossi all the way down in sixth. I can't tell anymore whether he's having a good or bad race anymore. If he finishes down, then it's all like, well, he had a bad race. But then if he finishes like on the podium as he did the other week, are we supposed to think, well, he's really outpacing, so and so, and he's doing really well considering he's like 60 years old now? So I don't exactly know where his performance level is, if you know.
Considering how Rossi's done the last few years at Jerez since his win back in 2016, to be fair, not a bad result.
So that's about average for him, is it?
About average normally for Rossi, but considering the way Jerez has gone the last few years, it's actually quite good. Now, he did finish fifth there last year, but remember, 3 riders went down in front of him in that big crash between Dovizioso, Lorenzo and Pedrosa, so he would have finished 8th if it wasn't for that. So, silver linings, you could say this is an improvement, and to be fair, the Yamaha didn't look that bad all weekend. You had both Sepang International bikes up front, and Maverick Vinales was doing pretty well, getting third place.
Yeah, not bad. And we were having a little internal bet at Motorsport Radio about when Cal would crash, and he didn't, to his credit. So
no, he didn't. The thing with Cal, it went. Yeah. I think you were the only one that said he would crash, but the rest of us were willing him on to stay on, and he did stay on.
He did, yeah. To his credit, he finished the race in 8th place, just ahead of Nakagami. But I think it was like 10 10 seconds or so. No, it was probably just ahead, I think it was, actually. Stefan Bradl rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, good ride by Stefan Bradl, who was riding, as we've already touched upon, the sort of more carbon chassis that Honda brought to Jerez. So it was the best race that he has had in MotoGP for a while, considering he's a wild card. He doesn't usually finish the races, or when he does, they're usually outside the point. So he done really well the weekend, just finishing behind behind Takaki Nakagami, and he was feeling pleased with the weekend. And then Marc Marquez tried the bike out the next day and felt quite pleased with it as well.
Pretty good. All right. We talked pretty much about everything MotoGP, have we then? Is there
not quite. There's actually quite a lot of MotoGP stuff that's come out from the weekend. Obviously, Maverick Vinales got his first podium of 2019, but he's basically putting that down to him having a good start for once. So I said it to myself basically when I was watching the race, because I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He actually made a good start for once, and him making a good start meant he could push for the podium, and instead of him dropping all the way back down to about 12th place in the opening laps and try to work his way back up, he was in third place and could actually hold off Andrea Dovizioso to hold that spot. And they were actually catching Alex Rins in the last few laps. I think Alex Rins backed it off, but at the same time, good ride by Maverick Vinales. If he can have a good start every single race, we will see him challenge for a lot more podiums and possibly race wins like he had at Phillip Island last year.
Talking about race wins, will Mr. Quartararo get his first race win, and will it be, I suppose if he does win anytime soon, would make him the youngest ever winner? But will he do it, and when?
I think he's still got another 2 rounds to try and do it. Now, for Quartararo, the next round is his home circuit at Le Mans, so the French Grand Prix, and we know how good Zarco was around there in the last couple of seasons on Yamaha. Set pole position there in 2018. So Fabio Quartararo set pole position at Jerez. He's got a Yamaha, great bike, great team. He could do it again, and this time he may actually go on to win the race. And
I would probably put some money on him at least finishing on the podium. Le Mans. I think personally he's good enough to win a race this year. Will he do it? It's hard to say, because we know how good riders could be in the rookie season for the opening few rounds, and then mid-season they might go awry a little bit, and then towards the end of the season might come good again, a bit like Zarco did in 2017. But Fabio Quartararo is a completely different rider in this sense. He could do it. I don't want to say he will do it. You know what? Stuff it. I'm going to say he will do it. He'll win a race this year, and he will win. Not in France, because I don't want to jinx him. I want to be wrong. So he won't win in France, but he'll win later on in the year. So you're learning from me then. Just be very vague.
Because if I predict a winner, they'll crash from the lead.
Yeah, they will.
We know that's always happens to me.
Yeah. Okay. And did you see his heartbreak as well? He was in tears. Poor kid.
Yeah, it was a shame. But the good thing is he's going to be here for a long time. He's going to be one of the future stars. And Marc Marquez.
He seems like a nice lad. I don't know him. Maybe.
Yeah, he does. He does. After the sort of the early years where I think it was the people around him. It made him no one warmed to him as well. But nowadays, he seems like a completely different kid, and he seems really nice. So it'll be great to see him go the distance and challenge Marc Marquez, Maverick Vinales, the likes of Joan Mir, Alex Rins for the championships in the future. And to be fair, the person that could maybe one day replace at the Monster Yamaha team, Valentino Rossi. One day, we never know when Valentino Rossi is going to retire. Could be 46 years old for all we know, because he is still performing. He's only 9 points off the championship lead. He might be in 4th spot, but it was basically a damage limitation weekend for him. Started down in 13th, finished 6th. Wasn't too bad considering that he was way down the order for most of the race. It was only towards the end of the race that he started coming through the field, and he puts it down to possibly going for the hard tyre when he could have gone for the medium like Maverick Vinales, because Vinales showed a good turn of speed towards the end of the race, which meant that Rossi could have done the same thing if he started in the medium, but he went for the hard front tyre, and it meant it was a little bit more difficult for him to make a good start at the start. If it was medium, F spots, maybes could, whatever. It might have gone differently. Well, 6th place still isn't too bad.
Well, Rossi's come out and he says he must win and beat Marquez to get a shot at the title, which is surprising in that he still thinks he can have a proper shot and beat Marquez on his form at the title.
Yeah, Mark is on his form. Even when Mark Marquez isn't on form, he's still damn hard to beat. Now, you've kind of got to put it to Yamaha a little bit. They've not been the powerhouse that they were back in 2015 when they were on the Bridgestone tyres and they had the control electronics, or before the control electronics. Ever since they moved to Michelin's and the control electronics came in, they haven't adapted to it as well as Honda have, as well as Ducati have, and even Suzuki seem to be a step ahead of them a little bit now. So we could see Rossi challenging for the title, but as he says, he needs to win races, which is quite good to hear, because Rossi over the last few years has been saying that, yeah, I'm aiming for a podium here and there. He's never really come out and said that he needs to win. Now that he's saying that, for Rossi fans, that could be really good news. And for Yamaha, that could be really good news, because he might just start stepping up that little notch again like he used to.
Well, he's, dare I say it, I mean, and anger the internets, but he is pushing on a bit. He's getting on, and fair play to him. If anybody on the grid can do seemingly the unthinkable at his age, it's definitely him, because he's already
absolutely
doing it. So
and to be fair, he actually came out the test feeling quite positive. They tested new parts. It wasn't that great. There was a small improvements here just to the improved grip and acceleration, and he came out the test seeming a little bit more happy than Maverick Vinales. Although Rossi finished down 17th, but he said, unlike everyone else, he didn't even put a new tyre in to go for a fast lap time. He just stuck with a used tyre the whole day and just worked on setup and new parts. So we could go to Le Mans, which Yamaha are really good at, and Rossi could win. Or Maverick Vinales could win, or it could be Quartararo or Franco Morbidelli or whoever.
Yeah. Okay. yeah, we get the idea. So let us know what you think, because we are live on this Thursday, the 9th of May. 9th?
Yes,
already?
the 9th of May.
So yeah, if you are listening live and tuned in live, hello and welcome. There's already been quite a few people say hello. Kim Hollings tuned in from Marple. Hello, Kim. Chris Howells early on the stream as well. He's waiting for you to slip up and curse somebody, and you've already done that. So we're sorry.
Yeah.
We're sorry, Fabio Quartararo, because Liam
I never predicted him winning for the next race. I've not predicted that yet.
Well, he might win the next race and then win nothing else ever again.
I'll never predict that then. Okay. I'll just say, no, that's it. I'm not predicting him doing anything else again.
Fair enough. Hello to Luke Lehman as well, has been on, and Sue White, all tuned in, as well as everybody on the BSB and Support Classes fan group on Facebook. Hello and welcome. We are currently running a Superbike poll on there at the moment, and we asked just before we came on air, we asked about an hour ago, who was your rider of the day in BSB, which happened on Monday? Who impressed more than anybody else? Who outperformed your expectations? And the initial questions, the poll questions, which you could add your own, you can still go and add your own while the show's live. Well, we put Tommy Bridewell, Ryan Vickers, Danny Buchan, Josh Brooks, Peter Hickman, Kyle Ride, Sean Winfield, crying laughing face. I don't know if that was a serious suggestion. Asher Durham, Dean Harrison, somebody else. But yeah, leading at the moment, that poll is Tommy Bridewell by some large margin, I'll tell you that. Ryan Vickers is a gallant second at the moment in the poll about who was the rider of the day in BSB at Alton. Danny Buchan in third, but that could all change. It's totally not official in any way. Just a bit of fun, just to see what you think. So we're running the BSB hashtag Superbike Show poll on the BSB and Support Classes fans Facebook group, so check that out on there. And this is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio. My name's Lester. Liam Hodgins is here, and we are still in the midst of a MotoGP review. There has been so much happening and so much drama as well, not just in the race, but also there's been handbags as well from team bosses and riders who are looking like they're falling out. Zarco, what's going on?
Yeah, basically, Zarco has been having a nightmare of a season so far. Switched over to KTM for the start of 2019, and he has come out and just basically said that the bike is, well, you know the word. Yeah.
What's French
rubbish.
for shit?
We'll look it up. We'll let our knowledgeable viewers and listeners messages in for that one, because I don't know that. But yeah, it's a bit like that advert, what's the French for Vav Avim, remember that? So yeah, his team boss, KTM's team boss, has come out and said, Stefan Pyrer has come out and said, I've just butchered that name, and said that Zarco's riding is unacceptable right now. It's just ridiculous that he's finishing so far down the field and out of the points, and he believes that it's a psychological thing. And remember the last time a team criticised the rider for having a psychological problem? It was Ducati with Marco Melandri, and they actually sent him off to a psychiatrist. So that didn't help Marco Melandri at all.
Well, I think a lot of people do have secret psychiatrists lurking around. I mean, it doesn't often, for obvious reasons, get publicised because it's seen as having a weakness. But it's just the same as any sort of performance coach, really. That's kind of that's exactly the same thing in my point of view.
Yeah, but I think it's the one where you sit down and just tell them all your problems in this wee room somewhere. So
I'm not winning, and I don't know why. Well, just speed up. Okay.
Maybe you should be a psychiatrist to send Zarco over to you, and that's it, sorted. Yeah. So basically, it's a psychological thing, according to the team manager. And he split from his long-term manager, Laurent Fellon, at the start of the year, who helped him get to KTM and has been an integral part of Johan Zarco's career from the early years before going into the 125 class. And he's now basically just filled himself with a bunch of people that aren't good for him, according to the team boss. So he wants to get rid of these people around Zarco, and he's the one that's really wanting to push Zarco to do what he knows he can do. So we could see a big falling out before the end of season. Zarco's got a 2-year contract, but contracts can be broken.
Yeah, they don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, they can be broken. So that could be ripped up by next round in France.
All right.
He doesn't
do anything. The question is, though, obviously, with that rumoured future split, let's hope it doesn't happen, but our minds will naturally go on to the next step and think, well, if they do split and then there's no longer a Zarco in that team, who's going to replace him?
I would say it'd be Miguel Oliveira, because KTM's boss did come out and say that they're very pleased with how Oliveira's riding. To be fair to Oliveira, he has been riding exceptionally well, has been very close to Paul Espargaro in most of the races, well ahead of his teammate Hafid Shirin, and ahead of Zarco in every single race so far, or most races so far. So it'll be Oliveira going up, because KTM have really nurtured him from a young age, brought him up from Moto3 to Moto2, very nearly won the championship last year. Well, not very nearly, but challenged a long way into the Moto2 championship against Francesco Bagnaia. And so they want to bring him up to MotoGP, and he's been doing a very good job in MotoGP so far. So it'll definitely be him. And then it'll be Brad Binder moving up into Miguel Oliveira's position.
So no Brad Smith?
No. But to be fair, Bradley Smith, he's done himself a power of good riding at Jerez, because he had an absolute egg beater of a crash in practice, and so did Andrea Iannone. And which one of them decided to take part in the race? So, yeah, Bradley Smith has been getting a lot of thumbs up and good words said in his direction, while Andrea Iannone might not be.
We've had a comment on the internet, which has flooded in. Hello, by the way, everyone tuned in who's listening live, visually.
Hello.
On the BSB fans Facebook group. Check it out. But there was a suggestion about maybe Alvaro Bautista in MotoGP.
I would tip him to be back into MotoGP, but
he's doing it all right where he is, I think.
Yeah, but apparently there's a clause in his contract. If he wins wherever he is right now, well, Superbikes, then Ducati can bring him back over to MotoGP, and you never know. Jack Miller, Danilo Petrucci, or Alvaro Bautista could be in that factory Ducati squad next year.
I had a theory, I think it was on the last show, that Lorenzo wouldn't see out the rest of, not only the rest of the contract, but the rest of this season, the way things are going. Because why would you, really? I mean, he's obviously not enjoying it. So, let's get someone else in.
Well, who would you bring in? You wouldn't bring Bautista in. You wouldn't bring Crutchlow in because he's happy where he is at LCR. Nakagami? Possibly.
Nah.
Pedrosa's in KTM and doesn't want to come back to MotoGP. Whilst Superbikes, there's Leon Camier, but probably not. Yeah, it's hard to... Who would you bring into it?
That's a good question. Is it? Is it even a good question? Maybe I've made a couple of leaps ahead of things, but it's a question anyway, and we'll put it out there. If Lorenzo is no longer in the team at the end of the season, and by all indications, he will be, but let's just say for the sake of argument that he's not, and they go their own separate ways. Whom would finish the rest of the season? And it might just be like a one-off, one race sort of thing.
My personal opinion, if that were to be the case, they'd probably just bring back Stefan Bradl to finish off the season, because he is their test rider.
Not Pedrosa.
No, Pedrosa's part of KTM now, and he doesn't want to come back to racing. And he seems quite happy where he is right now, and he's still recovering from a massive shoulder injury. So Stefan Bradl's the obvious choice.
Interesting. Okay. Let us know what you think as well if you tuned in live and you've got an opinion about any riders who are doing particularly well at the moment. We are running a poll as to who you thought was the rider of the day on Monday in BSB at Alton Park. A totally unbiased Paul Vickers says Ryan's the best. And who can disagree with that, Paul? Because he did do certainly well. We'll get on to talking about BSB and everything that happened at Alton Park later in the show. But this is the Superbike show, and we do sometimes talk about MotoGP. In that we talk about it every single show, and lots and lots of discussions. And we are running a poll, as we say, on the BSB support, BSB and support fans thing on Facebook. Hello to everyone tuned in on there. Hello to Nat Jarvis as well, and Olimpio Suarez, if I've pronounced that correctly. Apologies. He asks, do you really think that Bautista is the difference in World Superbikes, or might it be the V4R Panigale? Just talking about... It was actually him who mentioned about maybe Bautista coming back into MotoGP.
Well, apparently, according to Ducati, that is Bautista that's making all the difference, and you can't argue against them because he's come in, he has won every single race so far.
He's not hiding behind the bike, obviously, is he?
Yeah, not at all. According to Claudio Domenicali, I think it was him that said this, if it wasn't for Bautista, Ducati wouldn't have won a race. And if you look at the results, he's right, because if Bautista wasn't there, it'd be Jonathan Rea that would have won every single race so far this year. And Chaz Davies has got a couple of two podiums at Aragon, and that's the best he's looked all season. He's really not gelled with the V4. He's been so used to the V twins that it's been taking him a while to get his head around the V4. Alvaro Bautista has come over from a Ducati that he's known so well, which is a V4 in MotoGP, and it's probably helped his transition to race a V4 Panigale. On top of that, he has a world-class rider. People do forget that he has a 125 champion. Yeah, he's better than all right. I'll give him a bit of credit for that. But I believe that he's making all the difference right now. He's got to be well ahead of every other Ducati rider, and no one else can put a glove on him.
That's an interesting phrase. Caught me out there. If that answers your question about Bautista being the difference in World Superbikes. But we're not talking about World Superbikes right now. We're still at the Spanish Grand Prix, and we're still reviewing everything that happened in MotoGP, unless we've finished with that.
Finished with that. There's been so much that some of the stuff that was a little bit less important could have been scrapped. But something that has been coming out the last couple of days, and this is to do with Formula One as well, is the Brazilian Grand Prix in Formula One will be moving to a new circuit in Rio de Janeiro, and they're looking to get MotoGP. It's unconfirmed, but they're looking to get MotoGP as well. And the track, according to the Brazilian president, will be built by the end of this year. And I've heard reports that it's going to be built on top of some of the Rio Olympic Park. And if you don't know why that's a bit ironic, it's basically the ripped up, the old Jaraquipara circuit, the Nelson Piquet circuit, we'll call it that, for the Nelson Piquet Juniors.
To build the Olympic thing.
To build the Olympic Stadium or the Olympic Park on top of that. So they ripped all that up, and now they're kind of going to build the new circuit on top.
Allegedly. I mean, it's not like politicians ever lie, so I'm sure that's exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah, not at
Brazilian
all.
politicians definitely. But anyway,
I mean, yeah. Apparently, this was going to be great for the economy when they brought the Olympics over, and then they had the Olympics for a couple of weeks, and then now they've just left the Olympic Park to turn into ruins. So, they've ripped up a perfectly good racetrack for that. I'm a little bit biased. I quite like that racetrack in Rio.
Okay, we might get onto a rant. Well, you can later.
No, I won't rant again about racetracks.
What's the best racetrack to ever have been ripped up and destroyed in my heart? Hockenheim or Rio or somewhere else? Answers on a postcard. But yeah, that aside, so it'll be interesting to see if. I'm not going to believe all of the hype just because it's coming from the Brazilian president, and there's a lot more behind the reasons why he's coming out and saying it, rather than him potentially just being a fan of motorsport. And I don't know if he is.
Could be. Oh, and apparently it's going to be named after Ayrton Senna, which will be like the 4th track in Brazil named after Ayrton Senna. So, yeah, it's just going to cause mass confusion.
Did he by any chance happen to make this proclamation on May the 1st?
No.
Okay.
Why May the 1st?
Well, because that was the day with the anniversary of this.
Oh, of course. Well over my head there.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Cynical old me. Probably wasn't, though. But anyway, yeah, so on to Moto 2, and wow. It was not short of drama, but it wasn't the most... wasn't the most action-packed race up front. I don't remember. What it is remembered for is the enormous crash. Tell us more.
Yeah, the enormous crash which happened coming out of turn 1. Remy Gardner, a little bit too enthusiastic on his right hand, high-sided himself over the handlebars, and Alex Marquez had absolutely nowhere to go and ran over the top of Remy Gardner's bike. Now there's an action shot of the incident. Now you've probably seen this all over social media. It's actually quite cool. Like I said, because they all seemingly came out okay, is that Remy Gardner is getting hit by his bike from behind as Alex Marquez is running over the top of the bike. Now, unfortunately for Eki Pratima, the bike of Remy Gardner's went across the track and wiped out Eki Pratima. And then, unfortunately for Marco Bezzecchi and Eki Pratima, Marco Bezzecchi had nowhere to go and crashed into the stricken rider of Eki Pratima. Now, he got taken over to the medical centre, got checked up, and it was reported that he was okay. He was fit enough. Remy Gardner, I believe, got a little bit of concussion, so he should be back for round number 5 at France. But at the same time, remember what happened to Jake Dixon in Kota when he got concussion. There was 3 weeks between Kota and Jerez, and he was still not fit enough, according to the medics and, of course, himself, to come back riding. So Remy Gardner might miss next round. Not too sure. Depends on the size of the concussion. So it was a huge crash, and it could have been a lot worse for all riders involved, but thankfully they all seemingly came out of it okay. And it kind of, in a awful way to put it this way, it kind of robbed us of a better race, or of a good race anyway, because Alex Marquez looked very good all weekend. He looked like he could have challenged for the win. He's always been very good around Jerez. He won there a couple of years ago. Remy Gardner had been looking on form all weekend, qualified 3rd, was already in the top 3, so it did rob us of possibly a Remy Gardner win or Alex Marquez win, or possibly them challenging Lorenzo Baldassarri all the way to the finish line. But it was his teammate Augusto Fernandez who was returning this weekend after an horrendous fall in practice at Argentina where he broke his wrist, and he managed to pick up his first ever podium position, led a lot of the race, dropped back down to 3rd, probably because he was started to feel a lot of pain towards the end of the race, but picked up his first podium in Moto 2. And, of course, Lorenzo Baldassarri, his teammate, picked up his 3rd win of the season, his 5th win of his career. And get this, the 10 years that Moto 2 has been about, there's been 9 different winners at Jerez, and Lorenzo Baldassarri was the first rider to win it twice. So he won it in 2018, he won it again this year. So it's the first time in Moto 2 history that a rider has won twice at Jerez. So I just thought that was quite a fun wee stat to throw out there as well. So
interesting.
It was. Didn't know that. Oh, I'm glad you do now. It can be informative sometimes. So it was a great right by Lorenzo Baldassarri, increased his championship lead over Thomas Luthi to about 17 points now, and he's looking like the rider to absolutely beat in 2019. So he's really come good over the last few seasons. He had a bit of an injury issue the last few years, but he's really come good now, especially at the end of 2018 again, coming into 2019, and he is going to be tough to beat for the 2019 championship. And of course, we're going to go back to the KTM boss, Stefan Pyrer, as he did say that he is very angry, basically, with the Moto2 project. Not at the riders, but at the bike and the organisation, the project itself, because he believes that Brad Binder is the best of the category. So he believes that he's the best rider out there. And to be fair, to back his point up, Brad Binder was actually one of the championship favourites this year. Lorenzo Baldassarri was
That means nothing.
I know, but we know how good Brad Binder is. He's a former Moto3 champion. The year that he busted up his elbow, came back and was on form towards the end of 2017. Won multiple times last year, and this year the bike is just absolutely nowhere. And a track at Jerez where the bike should be actually quite good. So
I suspect Binder might be getting the same Zarco type treatment pretty soon. If
that would be the case if he was getting beaten off the other KTMs, but he's well ahead of his teammate Jorge Martin and the other KTMs in the Tech 2 squad of Marco Bezzecchi and Philip Artel. So they're nowhere near him. Brad Binder is by far the best KTM at the moment. So there's a bit to back up his point. The KTM has been having a lot of issues over winter with chatter, with the chassis. They've tried a number of chassis, not been able to find the fault. So KTM have come into the third year in all classes and just seem to be going, unfortunately, backwards. So it's not looking too great for them.
Yeah, it's I do suspect that when team bosses come out and say something along the lines of, oh, well, this whole championship's rubbish because we're not dominating, that, just shut up.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, but at least he's defending his riders, unlike him defending Zarco. So at least Brad Binder's getting defence, well, Zarco
gives us something to talk about, at least, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I'd just like to give a wee shout out to Jorge Navarro, who kind of went under the radar somewhat, even though he was, with probably another lap to go, he would have passed Lorenzo Baldassarri. But that is his second podium on the bounce. He got third last time out of Kota, second this time out, and it was his first podium, I believe, since Silverstone 2 years ago. So, yeah, back in the Moto3 class. So he's doing really well. And
well, he finished, I think, just less than 4/10 behind Baldassarri. So he was, like you say, challenging for the win. So
yeah, catching him towards the end of the race. The speed up chassis, as we've always known, does, when it's on form, come very good towards the end of the race in the Moto2 class. So fingers crossed. We know over the years the way the speed up chassis works is it can be amazing at one round and then rubbish at the next, where we'll be finishing down 15th. So fingers crossed, speed up can maybe challenge for more podiums throughout the year. And as we know, Fabio Quartararo won at Barcelona last year, and that's coming up in a few rounds' time. So we can maybe see them challenging for a win.
Or maybe even getting the win, definitely.
Or maybe even getting the win, yeah.
Potentially, yes, definitely. Willie, who knows?
It's hard to say in Moto2 at the moment.
But it's good, I suppose, that everybody we think is okay from that big multiple incident that brought a red flag to the race. So
I think the one that actually came off the worst was actually Remy Gardner with his concussion. So considering the size of the crash, it's not too bad an injury.
Fair enough. Okay. So Moto2, unless there's anything else that we've forgotten or missed, or any breaking news that sometimes breaks while we're on the show, which is rather annoying because we always find out after we've come off air and we're like, oh, damn it, there's been like a huge big row between like Marquez and Rossi or something like that. But yeah, anyway. So shall we move on then to Moto3?
Yes. We'll quickly gloss over Moto3 now. It was an emotional win for Nicolo Antonelli. He picked up his first win since Qatar 2016. So it's been a long time that he's not been on the top step of the podium. And to be fair to Nicolo Antonelli, he's been looking like a completely different rider in 2019. He's only 1 point behind Aaron Canet in the top of the championship now. So it's been a great start to the season for himself and for the sick 58 Squadra Course team, because it is owned by Marco Simoncelli's dad, Paolo. Now, you might remember Marco Simoncelli if you're new to sport. Marco Simoncelli did unfortunately pass away a few years ago in a race, and
still hugely loved by many.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a hero to many, an idol to lots, like a brother to Valentino Rossi, just an all-out round amazing guy around the paddock, and a big personality that everyone lost. Even if you didn't know him, you felt like you lost someone. So Marco Simoncelli, it was the 15th anniversary of him winning his first ever Grand Prix race back in Jerez, back in 2004 in the 125 class, under horrible conditions on that day. And it was amazing that his dad's team, which he set up a few years ago to bring talent through and to pretty much carry the honour of his son's name. And they picked up the first win, and not only that, their first 1-2 victory in the class. So it was emotional, and it couldn't have come at a better time, especially with Tatsuki Suzuki passing Celestino Vietti on the final lap to pick up second place. So yeah, Suzuki's been looking brilliant the last couple of rounds. Did push on at the front to try and break away from the rest of the field. Had a bit of an 8-head gap over the rest of the field for a long time. And then towards the end of the race, he got reeled back in. His teammate came through, won the race. He got a second. You couldn't have asked for a better result for the team.
Certainly, yeah, 1-2, and making that an emotional podium. And the celebrations were like, well, I don't think you could have celebrated any more, to be honest. The emotional outpouring, the significance, the symbolism of the 1-2, and everything that surrounded that team as well. So yeah, huge congratulations to the entire team, and to Antonelli as well, and Suzuki as well, who finished second on the podium. Vietti, as you say, finishing third, just being pipped on that last lap. And it wasn't an all-out traditional Moto3 race, in that there was, I think, only 10 bikes fighting for the lead pack, I think, and it's usually like a good 25 or something. So.
Yeah, to us, people that are watching this for the first time would be laughing about that, but you're right. We get sometimes 25 riders battling out for the lead of the race. Now, Suzuki picked up his first ever podium, which is great because he crashed at the lead at Kota. Vietti has only done 8 Moto3 races, and he picked up his second ever podium, so he's looking like an absolute star of the future. Aaron Canet just missed out on the podium, but he's now leading the championship, which I believe might be the first time he's done that. I could be very wrong. Probably am very wrong. Keito Toba, 6th spot. He just seems to be coming out of nowhere and just picking up results, and he's still 4th in the championship after winning the race, winning the first round at Qatar. And we've had 4 different winners from the first 4 rounds, and this Moto3 2019 championship is looking like anybody can win it. We could even say that Alonso Lopez or John McPhee, yes. To be fair, John McPhee, he looked cracking all weekend until it came to the race. He picked the soft rear tyre, and he just went backwards from there. So he got himself up to 6th spot. Everyone else had the hard tyres, and he just dropped back, which was a bit of a shame for John McPhee after a tough start to the season. But we can always see John McPhee later on in the year, and we'll always be rooting for him.
Yeah.
I will be anyway.
I think we should try and get him on the show at one point so he can explain, rather than us trying to figure out what the hell's going on. He can maybe tell us if he knows. But McPhee finishing the race on Sunday in 12th place. Just behind, I think he was in the battle between himself and 11th place Darren Binder, and they were like the lead pack of about 5 other riders: Masaki, Lopez, Sasaki, Foggia in that pack as well. And what happened to everybody's favourite bad boy thingy-bob? Yeah,
so when we had, I can't believe I've forgotten his name, but the other Leopard bike. And for some reason, I know it's not Dalla Porta, but he's Ramirez. There we go. When he crashed, and he ran over the back of bike at first, and it looked like Pranati got tangled up with it, and basically just ran off the track at turn number.
Oh, he was an innocent victim. I remember now, wasn't he?
He just ran off the track, and I don't know if there was a bike issue, but yeah, Romano Fenati is having a horrendous start to the year, and it's weirdly enough, it doesn't seem self-inflicted for Romano Fenati, so it's a shame that we didn't get to see him fighting for the win. But it was it was great that we had. Well, it was great that Ramirez did get back up again, and he seemed okay. So, yeah, Leicester wasn't a good one by Fanati, and well,
I forgot his name.
I'm not sure.
Moment, to be honest. That wasn't like a disrespect.
Well, I know when you said bad. When you said bad boy, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, because I don't know why, but I think it's age, isn't it? I don't know. 30s now. Getting on a bit. And so Moto 3 then, decent race overall, and fantastic podium, and let's hope for the same again next time round in terms of action. Maybe a bit more action would be nice, and not so much crashing. So anyway, on to, because we've managed to talk for an hour just about MotoGP in 2 and 3, and we've still got absolutely tons of stuff to talk about here on the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. Hello, my name's Lester. Liam Hodgins is here, and World Superbikes is back. Yes, it's still going, and they're back in action this weekend, and we will talk about that right now, and we'll get on to BSB after that, because we're running a poll at the moment asking who you think was the rider of the day on Monday, on Bank Holiday Monday, when the BSB was in action. Who did well from your point of view? And we will give you the final results of said poll, which, unsurprisingly, is being dominated at the moment by just one rider, who seems to be the fans' favourite. So, yeah, not bad. Anyway, we'll bring you more on that. Back to the racing and World Superbikes then, Liam. They're back in action amazingly this weekend. Where are they exactly?
They're at Imola this weekend, the picturesque circuit in Italy, and it's one of the best racetracks in the world. So much history around it, and we could possibly see 14 wins for Alvaro Bautista. Amazingly, we could get 14 wins in a row by that man.
That would be a record, wouldn't it?
Well, he's already got the record. He beat Neil Hodgson's record of 10 in a row. He's now 9 in a row. Sorry, he's now on the amazing 11. So
I sort of zoned out after the first 10.
Yeah.
So,
I think maybe a few people did, but it's up to everyone else to try and catch him. Jonathan Ray's come out recently and said that he feels like he's riding better than he has ever done before, but
no one's noticed.
No one's noticed, because he'd be finished second in every single race. As I believe, if it wasn't for Alvaro Bautista being in the race, he would have won every single race so far. So Alvaro Bautista comes in this weekend sky high, feeling like he can probably do nothing wrong, and I'm not going to say that he will win every single race, but I'm going to anyway, because I think he will. And I probably just jinxed him. Yeah. So I feel Jonathan Ray has had a great record over the last few years at the circuit. He's coming into this round feeling quietly confident, and we could see him challenging for, well, we will see him challenging for the wins, but we could see him finally
winning,
getting ahead of Bautista and winning the race. Now, Bautista's never raced at a circuit before. He's tested there recently, and there was a funny tweet that someone posted. I think maybe World Superbikes, who said, "Oh, we're going to see Alvaro Bautista testing at Imola," and it was Alex Lowe that replied back to it, "Oh, good, he'll finally have a chance to do well." So it was quite a tongue-in-cheek tweet from Alex Lowe, quite funny. Obviously quite a bit sarcastic, because Alvaro Bautista is doing no wrong at the moment, but at the same time, it'll just give everyone else the impetus to try harder, push harder, and possibly even beat Alvaro Bautista. And one of those people, I'm just going to throw this out there, is a rider that knows the track very well, knows the Ducati well, is Lorenzo Zanetti. So he's going to be returning to World Superbikes this weekend with a 5th V4 Panigale bike, and it's going to be set up by the Moto Corsa team. And yeah, he's going to be looking good for this weekend. And his sole win in World Supersport was back in 2014 at that circuit. So he knows struck it well. He races in the CIV Championship, and he's doing amazingly well over there. So we could see him possibly doing very well on that Ducati, unlike what everyone else has been doing so far this year, apart from obviously Alvaro Bautista. And according to Italian website Moto.it, they've reported that Marco Melandri, It's all right.
Don't worry about it. No one knows.
So they've been reporting that Melandri has been doing some testing behind closed doors, testing some parts that the Pata Yamaha team got a couple of rounds ago, and they've been doing quite well in this private test of theirs. So you never know. Marco Melandri, you can never count the man out. He could just pull out a win out of nowhere, or he might not win. So it could put it up to, obviously the team there. It's a new team, the GRT squad, and they're trying the hardest to get one ahead of at least the Pata Yamaha team by testing those parts at the circuit. And if we go down to World Supersport, Massimo Roccoli, that's a name you might know from your childhood. That's one I definitely know from my childhood. Will be returning as a wild card in the World Supersport. Not broccoli, Roccoli.
Oh.
Yeah, he will get it right there. He'll be returning this weekend with one of the Yamaha teams. So Massimo Roccoli scored 3 podiums in the World Supersport class from 2006 to 2013, including 1 race win. It didn't happen to Imola, but it did happen at the Misano circuit, and he will be wildcarding this weekend with the Team Rosso Corsa Yamaha squad.
Okay.
So it'd be good to see Massimo Roccoli. I know I said broccoli. Massimo Roccoli back.
Well, you said something that reminds, like, from years ago, and something that sounds like broccoli. Broccoli. Anyway, yeah, interesting to see how well they do. Wasn't the team who I've temporarily forgot the name of, because probably Alzheimer's, weren't they supposed to be coming back at this round at
Tenkate, not Honda, Tenkate Yamaha now.
Yes, yes.
I see, I always get tripped up by that.
Yeah, they said they were going to come back at some point, and they said it was originally going to be like a kind of just a shakedown weekend at this round, but are they going to be there? What are they doing?
So they won't be at this round. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but they will be at the next round at Jerez. So Imola, they were talking about maybe turning up this weekend, but they feel like it'd be better not to get a test under the belt and then obviously trial the weekend in a few races time. So it would have been amazing to have seen them back this round, but it's better for them to get a bit of testing in along with the current riders to sort of get a gauge in where they are, and then they'll come back for round number 6 at Jerez. So we'll be seeing Tenkate Yamaha and Loris Baz back in World Superbikes in the next few weeks. So it's going to be good to see them back. There was talk earlier on in the year in World Supersport that Keenan Sofoglu might make a return for this round, but I've not heard anything about that, so that's probably not going to go ahead. So there was, was that what you were about to ask? Yeah. So it's a shame, but I never thought we'd see him back after him pulling off at the end of the warm-up lap at the start of last year's World Supersport race, and him just saying that that's him done. He'll be retiring. So
because I think we talked about it in a previous show, and then we just don't know what happened with that. So nothing, obviously.
Yeah, so we probably won't see Keenan Sofoglu back. Saying that, I'll probably be wrong again, and he'll just turn up on Friday. Yeah.
But World Superbikes at Imola this weekend. They named the races really weirdly, like the Imola Round. When you go onto the World Superbike website, and it's like the Donington Round, or it's like usually it's like the British Grand Prix, or it's like so I never know exactly what to call it, like the actual event, whether it's like the Imola Grand Prix or what is it? I don't even know, to be honest.
I will sort that confusion out for you in a second, Lester. So it's called the Pirelli Italian Round. There you go. It's called the Italian Round.
Fair enough. Genuine question from Chris Howells, and thanks for reminding me that the team was called Tenkate. He asks, what's the snow forecast for World Superbikes this weekend? Well, initially, yes, you laugh, but there was a World Championship that's on 4 wheels that was brought to a sudden halt when they were racing at Spa in Belgium at the weekend because of snow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm having a look at the forecast, so I'm going through the iPhone weather forecast, and I don't think there's any snow predicted at the weekend, but there's rain on Sunday.
Okay.
Sunny on Saturday, but rain on Sunday. So, I mean, try and trust the iPhone weather app if you want, but I don't trust it that well.
Other phones are available, but you could have just Googled it, I suppose, Chris.
I could have, but that takes longer to type in.
Yeah. So, yeah, we don't know about snow, but weird to think that international big championship, international world championships are being, red flagged because of snow in May.
Yeah,
it's happened before.
Climate, I guess.
in March, and I think there was I think in like touring cars over here it snowed, and didn't it snow in BSB? Or was it last year? Just rain.
It snowed in BSB recently. I remember BSB 2008. Now my long-term memory is way better than my short-term memory, and I remember the first round at Brands Hatch was completely snowed off, and I just remember seeing scenes with teams and riders just throwing snowballs at each other. So that round was completely snowed off. I know it's happened more recently. I think it may be in 2017 it happened at the same round. But the 2008 one is the one that really stands in my head. It's crazy that it's happening in May, because May is supposed to be the start of spring, where the weather starts getting good. Sun's out, but guns it's freezing all the time. Yeah, sun's out, guns out, taps off and everything, as we say up here in Scotland. So yeah, it's crazy that it's happening. The Belgian round for the World Endurance Championship was snowed off. We also had hail at the Formula E Prix in Paris a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was pretty much snowing there as well in Formula E.
Yeah, so we could have snow on Sunday at Imola. We just don't know what's going to happen. The climate doesn't. It just seems to go. Yeah, I'll just do what I feel like in the day. You
might even say it's a changing climate.
Yeah.
Or not. Maybe not. Probably not. Definitely not. Anyway, moving on. Stop being cheesy, Liam.
I said nothing.
So it is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. If this is your first ever experience of Motorsport Radio, we're not usually this cheesy. Don't worry. We usually, well,
you are. I'm not.
Well, not generally. We're usually quite a lot more cheesy, to be perfectly honest.
It's because Ed isn't here.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
I am Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
So it is the Superbike Show, it is Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. My name's Lester. And Liam Hodgins is also here. And so we can see your face now. That's interesting.
That's good.
We're doing visual radio, and it's face for radios and stuff. And Liam was sort of like hiding behind like a microphone and stuff. And anyway,
yeah,
just so he, whatever. On to BSB then, and we've got a lot of stuff to talk about right here. And because we're live and kind of short on time now, because we talked a lot about MotoGP and all that sort of stuff, because we're live, we want to read out your comments and suggestions about whom did well at the weekend. Particularly, we're asking because we've got a poll running at the moment, and we asked just before we came on air. We asked who was your rider of the day on Monday in BSB, who impressed more than anybody else, who outperformed expectations. Maybe, and we put a couple of suggestions on just to get you started. Like, for example, Tommy Bridewell was he one of the people who you thought maybe would have done better than anyone else? Total opinion poll. So, and I've not even cast my vote on it yet. So I'm staying well on the fence on this one.
As you do.
But yeah, Tommy Bridewell is currently leading the fans' vote. I think it's 130 plus people on there at the moment. Ryan Vickers in second place at the moment. A long way back, but still in a strong second place. Third place, it's Danny Buchan. Josh Brooks, only fourth. because I'm guessing maybe people thought he would do well anyway, so didn't, there was nothing special maybe for I don't know, maybe no one said exactly, but Peter Hickman in a competitive 5th place in our fans vote, our poll of the day, rider of the day I suppose, from BSB. Then it was Dean Harrison. Good shout, actually. Pretty decent. Then Kyle Ride, and then good shout as well, Kyle Ride. Keith Farm, although we were mostly just asking for BSB people, to be honest. One person who didn't get that many votes, Scott Redding. He got fewer votes than Sean Winfield.
Seriously?
Right, yes. At the moment, as it stands at the moment, it could all change though. So
there was a bit in the race where I read the graphics completely wrong, and I thought that Sean Winfield was in 14th place, and I thought, wow, he's done amazingly well. And it scrolled over to the next page, and it ran through like 26th to 28th. I was like,
yeah. Was
that just like a jump in graphics, or did I just get that completely wrong? I was super happy for Sean Winfield for a second, and I just got it completely wiped away.
I suppose. I wonder if a rider's ever or maybe like a rider's, I don't know, parents or supporters back in the garage have always like just looked at the thing and they've saw the graphics and it's like, oh wow, just done exactly the same thing you've done, and they're, oh well, okay.
Yeah. But I remember something similar happening for any Formula One fans out there when they brought in the fan vote for your driver of the day, and then it was Rio Haryanto who kept coming in last place, would always get the vote for driver of the day.
Yeah. That's maybe something that I wouldn't put past Stuart Higgs to introduce, maybe at the very final round.
Yeah, and then it'll be Sean Winfield. Whoever gets the most votes should start in pole position for race 2.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Sean Winfield. Get the votes in for him.
But it would be like you say, though. I mean, the fans wouldn't necessarily vote for. I mean, knowing how the British fan. I mean, we voted a Boaty McBoatface as a name, for example. So that's how seriously we take some things.
I think if it were to be cast, then there would be a lot of people that would be in for a shout of starting pole position. Like your championship contenders would probably way at the back because they've been starting pole position nearly every single race, so that everyone would want to see them near the back and find their way to the field, and everyone that's further back would get all the fan votes to start first.
If we were making the grid order based on fans' votes, so if we was like quali goodbye, then Tommy Bridewell in this poll that we're running right now on the BSB and Support Classes fans Facebook group, which is live at the moment. If you're not a member of that, head over there, join up. We'll accept you. Everyone's welcome. And so we're running a poll on there. Tommy Bridewell would be on pole position if we were making the grid based on fans' votes. Ryan Vickers would be second on the grid. Danny Buchan would start from third. Josh Brooks from fourth. Peter Hickman fifth. Dean Harrison would start from sixth as it stands at the moment. But that could all change. There's only been, I'm guessing, a few hundred people voting on this so far. But I just thought it was an interesting question to just put up before the show just to see,
It's a very good vote. And to be fair, the top 3 were by far the standouts of the weekend. I remember watching qualifying and
so everyone
the races. Tommy Bridewell. I was like, wow, I've not seen Tommy ride this well for a long time. Then you had Ryan Vickers, who has just been looking amazing all season so far, and the qualifying where he knocked Mackenzie out. Was it Josh Elliott out of Q2? And we're just like, wow, where did that come from? That was incredible. What a lap time. And then Danny Buchan has just been shown the form that we've always believed he's had, but is not really shown in Superbike class. But when he's been in Super Sport, he's had it. And it's great to see Danny Buchan finally show us what he's capable of.
Like you say, I think we've always known that he's had it, and I don't think he's ever not shown it or like underperformed. But like you say, it's no surprise anyway to people who always sort of believed in him. That he's displaying such performances, Danny Buchan. Just had a quick browse of some of the comments. There's quite a lot of comments actually in my other other machines running quite slowly, which prevented me from reading out some previous comments, by the way. Yes, we'll get to some more comments because we are live, and this is the Superbike Show. And going back to the actual action then, what happened on track on Monday at BSB? Well, yeah, there was, even before the weekend started, there were a couple of very bad, unfortunate injuries. Fraser Rogers sustaining injuries. I forgot exactly what he broke or sprained or did, but anyway, he released a video from his hospital bed. Saying, ouch, I suppose. I forgot exactly what he said as well, but it was, Fraser Rogers out for at least that weekend. And also Ben Curry as well. I believe it was the first, I'd not seen any images of the crash. I don't think I saw any videos of it either. But I think he went off in one of the final practice sessions on the Saturday. It was weird the way but yeah, Ben Curry didn't break his leg, it turns out, but he did break quite a few bones in his foot and also kind of like messed his knee up.
Yeah, it's a horrible injury, and people that have broken bones in their foot know that they could be the really niggling injuries that take a while to heal, and especially for a bike racer, and obviously the pressures you put through your feet when you're changing direction in the bike. Obviously, that you use your feet to help change the direction of the bike, especially on one of these big Superbikes because it's quite heavy, and it can just be an absolute nightmare and cause excruciating pain in the bike. And not just that, it's quite uncomfortable because your foot tends to be 2 sizes bigger than what it should be, and it's quite difficult to get your foot into your boot. And if it's that bad, they've got to make a bigger boot, which means it's harder for you to actually put your foot on the foot pegs. So you've got to make that bigger.
Sounds like you've got a bit of experience in this field.
I don't have any experience, but I know people. I've raced against people that have had this experience, and yeah, it's looked nasty. It's not looked good. So I'm thankful I've avoided breaking any bones in my feet. Touch wood, for now. Okay. So, yeah, fingers crossed Ben Curry will be back very soon, as of course Fraser Rogers. Yeah, and to all of the other riders who are right now sat out on the sidelines and missing all of the action. But yeah, a full review of everything, a very good overview. You can catch up if you didn't actually watch any of the races live on Eurosport, and they do usually provide some fantastic coverage to Eurosport. Their on-demand player is a separate thing. Let's not start that again.
Their actual production of the event is world class. And wow, did you see that drone shot?
Oh yeah, that was amazing all weekend.
Exactly. It's not the first time that they've had a drone shot. I did a search on the internets, and I found that the first time that they tested with that drone shot was like 2015 at Thruxton or something. I don't know if they've done it since, but
really? Wow, that long ago.
Yeah, so I mean, it was quite rudimentary. It didn't have all the pan and the nice smooth tilting and stuff, but yeah, it's interesting. And I thought for a long time you couldn't actually have a drone up looking at all the thing, but it worked really brilliantly and beautifully. So all credit to the Eurosport team for making that happen and providing some stunning coverage of the Alton Park round, and long may it continue as well for the rest of the season.
Just and forever.
That. Yeah. So what was I talking about now? Oh yeah, BSB. So I got carried away talking about coverage, which is something quite personal to myself, because I will be, let's say, producing the partner championship series coverage of BSB, Cool Fab Racing. So yeah, all these little sort of ideas. I don't think we'll be taking a drone, to be honest.
I was looking forward to the drone now. I was hoping you'd let me fly it personally, but I'm a little bit upset.
Definitely not. So yeah, all little tiny ideas like that are noted for future things. Anyway, so back to the actual weekend and pole position, and it was, I believe, Josh Brooks on pole.
It was Josh Brooks by a hefty margin, about 0.6 of a second. he just was the class of the field. Well, I would say class of the field until it came to the races, when obviously he was chased both races by Tommy Bridewell. But yeah, Josh Brooks had the most wins of any other rider going into that weekend in BSB at Alton Park, and he's now just added 2 more to the collection. So it's Josh Brooks. We can call it Brooks Park or something, or Alton Brooks. It just seems to be synonymous.
He had the edge, didn't he? Definitely.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Weekend, so
he did, and that's why I think people are voting Tommy Bridewell so high up in the poll, is because no one looked like all weekend that they'd be challenging Josh Brooks as close as they did, and Tommy Bridewell kept him honest in both races. So yeah, it was a runaway victory in both races by Josh Brooks. Well, if it wasn't for Tommy Bridewell. Yeah,
I mean, he made it. He didn't exactly make it look easy. But Tommy Bridewell, as much as he could do, tried to keep pace, and I think that's why, like you say, Liam, a lot of people, rightly so tonight, praising Tommy Bridewell for just keeping pace with Josh Brooks on the form that he was in on Monday. So all credit to Tommy Bridewell for at least just trying to keep up with him and challenge for the win at various points. But those two in a class of their own.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was hard for anyone to get close to him. The only person that did look like, especially in race 1, that could challenge him was Danny Buchan. Now, he was setting lap times close to the 2 leaders as he was coming through the field, and as soon as he got into 3rd place, he just pulled away from Scott Redding and Jason O'Halloran, and it looked like that if he hadn't fallen so far behind, then he could have went with Tommy Bridewell and Josh Brooks, but it wasn't to be. Nonetheless, brilliant ride by Danny Buchan. He's been looking like a completely different rider in the BSB class at the start of 2019, and long may it continue, because he's such a likeable guy, and he's a fan favourite to many.
Definitely, yeah, and I'm just keeping like one eye on the fans poll as well. Buchan is holding his own in 3rd place in the rider of the day, or rider of the week, I suppose, the event really at Alton Park. Danny Buchan 3rd place, Ryan Vickers still 2nd, and Tommy Bridewell streaking away with the lead of the fan vote. Josh Brooks in 4th place, and Peter Hickman in 5th. So if as we say, the grid was to be made up of that, then it would be Tommy Bridewell on pole at least. But race 1. Josh Brooks winning by he made it look really comfortable though, didn't he? That was the thing, even though he had Tommy Bridewell breathing down his neck, and but he sort of seemed in control.
Yeah, he soaked up the pressure really well, and to be fair, with about 4 laps to go, I thought the race was over, because Josh Brooks just seemed to eke out 0.6 of a second with these, and then we watched the battle between Taryn McKenzie and Ryan Vickers and Ellie for a while, and then all of a sudden Jamie Whittam had said, oh wait a minute, there's only 0.3 of a second gap between Josh Brooks and Tommy Bridewell. And it's like, oh wow, here we go again. But Tommy Bridewell looked the faster of the two at the first half of the track when it came to the chicane, and all the way up towards the end of the lap towards Old Hall and everything. Josh Brooks eked out the gap again, so it was like toing and froing, the yo-yo effect really, and that happened for both races. So it was, when it was close, it was just close for a tiny little bit of the lap, and then Josh Brooks would just eke it back out again, which was cool to see. How both similar bikes, but with completely different riders from 2 different teams, the characteristics of it worked out.
Yeah, definitely it was that cat and mouse type thing throughout, I think throughout the entire day, throughout race 1 and race 2. So it was Brooks who won, Bridewell 2nd, and Danny Buchan getting I think he was pretty much on his own. He had a bit of a lonely race by all accounts, really. Not really challenged by O'Halloran in the end, who finished 4th. Scott Redding did okay to finish 5th in race 1. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
he did. He managed to hold off Peter Hickman, who was all over the back of Scott Redding. Now, Jamie Whittam finally pointed out during commentary that who would have thought, it's only in BSB that you can have the fastest rider on the TT up against a MotoGP rider, and I was like, yeah, that's true, and it's just shows how good BSB racing is, that you can have 2 completely different riders. They are 2 worlds apart coming together and racing against each other with barely anything between them.
And Peter Hickman is the reigning Rider of the Year in the official Motorsport Awards as well. So he is officially the Motorsport Awards Rider of the Year currently.
So the best rider of the year.
Yeah. So that's
in anything.
That's official. As voted for at the end of it, 2018. Anyway, but yeah, Scott Redding, like you said, it's still weird for me to see Scott Redding on the BSP and thing, but I'm sure we'll get used to it. And is it just a matter of time before his first win?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I've been saying for weeks, he still has to get his head around the quirky British circuits, because he's only ever used to the world circuits, even when he raced in Spain, and of course he spent 2008, so the past 11 seasons of his life on the world stage, racing on these big, wide, smooth circuits, and he's come back to these really cool but really small British circuits that can make the best riders in the world look, I wouldn't say average, but at the same time, they'll struggle to get their head around it for a little while. We will see Scott Redding win races this year. There's no shadow of a doubt. I believe he will be in the top 6 and challenge for the championship towards the end of the year, but it might just take him a little bit longer than some people might have expected for him to win his first race.
Well, Mike Davis has been on, and he has mentioned on the BSB fans Facebook group this evening. Hello, Mike, if you tuned in. He said it was an eye-opener for Scott Redding. I think he means just in general, or coming into BSB. It was a bit of an eye-opener. But he can't wait to see what he makes of Cadwell Park, for example.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what he makes of Knockhill, personally, but Cadwell Park as well. Thruxton is another one that will be eye-opening to him.
I think he'll go well at Thruxton because of the nature of it.
He might do, yeah. I think he did say, there was a small quote, I think he said that Alton Park was quite scary.
Well, it is anyway.
Yeah, it is. It's like a road course, but as a racetrack. So it's up and down all over the place. It's why a lot of as history shows, a lot of the road races go quite well at Alton Park, because it's quite similar to riding or racing on a road.
Quite true, yes. Scott Redding having a decent showing, could have been worse. Just keeping Peter Hickman at bay in race 1 by just over 1/10 of a second. And those two way out in front of Keith Farmer, who finished the race in 7th place in race 1. Then it was Taz McKenzie. And then Ryan Vickers finishing in the top 10. Brilliant result for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible riding by Ryan Vickers, not just in race 1, but throughout the whole weekend. He was on top form, establishing himself as a proper BSB racer. And he's gaining fans. He's gaining just so much admiration from his fellow riders for doing what he's doing, because he came up from stock 600s last year, and that's a massive jump.
I think on the commentary, it was I think it was Whittam who said that just a couple of years ago, Ryan Vickers was racing in Thundersport, doing just club racing, really. And now he's in BSB, finishing in the top 10 in only round 2.
Yeah, and then getting himself into Q3 as well, which was even more amazing. And he's making himself look really good at the moment, and long may it continue.
Do you remember when Brad Ray made that step up, and he seemed to be like the new kid who's like the one to watch a couple of years ago? I get the exact same feeling about Ryan Vickers that we got with Brad Ray.
Yeah, he was making his teammates at the time, Taylor McKenzie and Sylvain Guttoli, look kind of average at that point. He was sort of on the stock Suzuki compared to them on the fully backed Bennett's bike, and he was up there racing with them, and quite a lot of the time towards the end of the season especially, beating them. So, as you say, he does remind you a bit of Brad Ray a couple of years ago, and fingers crossed he can just go from strength to strength.
Talking about Brad Ray, didn't have the best of weekends overall. In race 1, I think he started in 14th place, finished in 14th. And,
it's a great shame to see Brad Ray as far down as he is, because we know how talented a rider he is, and it just doesn't seem to be gelling between himself and the bike at the moment. And we believe it might have been something to do with him just not getting the front end feeling from the bike. But I think as the weekend went on, it did get better, and he did show a turn of pace now. I think in race 2 it was better than it was in race 1. I think he finished 10 seconds quicker in race 2 than he did in race 1.
Yeah, I think in race 2 he finished in 12. So
yeah, and he was a good bit quicker in race number 2, but unfortunately it's another result that he didn't get inside the top 10, which is a shame because we know how good Brad Ray is, and he's also tested a MotoGP bike. Suzuki thinks so highly of him, highly enough that they invite him to the Suzuki 8 Hour, and we just know that he's going to have a strong career. Not sure what the issue is at the moment, but fingers crossed he can get his head around it, because we know how exciting he is up at the front, and he should be someone that's challenging for the championship this year.
I can definitely see a future title challenge between someone like Ryan Vickers in a couple of years' time and Brad Ray. They would be I think, the future establishment of BSB. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, if they don't,
and even Taz McKenzie as well.
Yeah, I feel like these young riders will do well in BSB, but I think they will move on to possibly World Superbikes in the near future, if they continue to on this upward curve that they're going on,
or even GP.
But GP, yeah, we know Taz, I don't think is too keen on going back to GP after his stint in Moto2 in 2017, but we never know. Brad Ray, Ryan Vickers,
I have a theory.
Don't want to big them up too much, but they could go to GP at some point.
I have a theory about Brad and Suzuki and World Superbikes. That's just
where you're going with this.
That's just because I think we did float the idea of when Ten Kate was announcing that they wanted to come back, and I don't think we knew it wasn't going to be a Honda, and then we thought, well, could it be Suzuki? Maybe could they dip their toe back in? And I think in the long term, and I don't think made any announcement, they've made no indication whatsoever that this is ever going to happen in the short time or anytime soon. But just from a fan's point of view, and just to speculation, that's all it is really, just to throw in a curveball. Suzuki I could see a scenario in the future where, just as a test maybe, I mean, a wild card, that's another wild card ride in World Superbikes. But they could maybe use that as a test ground. I mean, Brad could be a guinea pig in World Superbikes, and they could use him a couple of times for maybe a 2020.
They could. They used, some manufacturers, Ducati for example, used to use the stock 1000 class as their sort of the class to sort of bed their new bike in the year before they'd actually use it in the World Superbike class. So BSB is more stock than World Superbikes is. So maybe Suzuki could be using that as a test bed,
because they do, also, like you say, they do like Brad, but I'm sure they're not keen on his results right now. So they want to. I'm just thinking with my manufacturer hat on, which I don't have. I'd say, well, we like this rider, but we're not too keen on the results that he's getting. So why don't we take him out of PSB?
Maybe they're putting too much pressure on Brad, because he won the opening 2 races at Donington last year, was up there for the first 5 rounds or so until about Snetterton, and then all of a sudden it just sort of went away. And
double podium at Cadwell, mid-season anyway.
He just wasn't on the same form as he was at the start of the year, when he looked like he could be the champion of BSB that early on. He was looking that good.
Or maybe we've been putting too much pressure on him.
Maybe we have. Maybe we're all just putting too much pressure on Brad, and it's just got to him a little bit. Fingers crossed it hasn't. Maybe it's just something to do with the bike, but we won't really know until he does challenge at the front again, which I'm sure he will do.
Well, if keeping himself sharp involves riding a pit bike in Cool Fab Racing from time to time, for example, then keep it up, because he was riding in Cool Fab Racing in the Red Lodge round a couple of weeks ago, and you had the privilege of commentating on his riding exploits, and he does that just for a bit of fun. A cool fab racing graduate, as is many people coming through the BSB paddock at the moment as well. So yeah, that's good to see. Anyway, back to what happened in race number 2, and I can't remember the last time it happened. Maybe someone like yourself who knows more about stats, or I don't know. I'm guessing if Kiko's tuned in, he'll instantly be able to tell us. But when was the last time we had an identical top 3?
To be fair, that is something I did try and look up, and
was it Silverstone? Am I just being that dense? What?
To be fair, I finished work at 7 o'clock tonight, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to find that stat here, and I didn't find it in time. So I probably wasn't as long ago as we think it was. It's not as different as, well, it's not as rare as that.
Yeah, I didn't want to big it up to be like super, like, oh wow, and then it was like, yeah, it was same thing, just the last round. Okay.
Well, I'm sure someone in our comment section will be able to sort that out for us.
Yes, if you do know, then you can put us right as to all that sort of stuff. I'm sure, like you say, it's not spectacular, but
it'd be great if it was something like, I don't know, Steve Hislop, John Reynolds, and James Hayden back in 2001.
I'm almost certain it wasn't.
No, it definitely wasn't. But it'd be quite cool if it was that.
Yeah. So Superbikes race 2, Josh Brooks winning by a bigger margin, 2.6 seconds from race number 1. Bridewell still keeping him honest on the podium, and Danny Buchan again, double podium for him this weekend in the FS3 Kawasaki. Great news and great result. And generally 3 happy riders. I don't think anybody particularly felt disappointed. Tommy had a smile on his face all weekend, and as did Danny Buchan, I think. So yeah, it's good to see that everybody was happy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see a podium where everyone's smiling and very happy with the results. Danny Buchan did kind of say afterwards, it's a great result, but he wants more, which is good to hear, because that just shows how good Danny Buchan is feeling, and it's only good for the rest of the season for Danny. So he's stayed with the FS3 squad. We know it's a good team. We know they like Danny Buchan. Danny Buchan likes them. So it's a match made in heaven, so to speak. So we could see a lot more coming from them, and potentially some race wins throughout the season if it wasn't for those pesky Ducatis.
Yeah, and also Tara McKenzie finishing quite high up as well. Not where he did do at Silverstone, but still pretty decent, I'd say. Kristen Iden had a decent day.
I would say a decent race 2. Race 1, he had a bike issue, even though he was quite high up the order, but he started dropping back, and it turned out to be an issue with the bike, which was a bit of a shame for Christian Iden, because he's always gone well at Alton Park. He came the closest ever time he came to winning a race in BSB was a couple of years ago at Alton Park. So we know it goes well around there, and so does the BMW. But I would say it was a good day for Christian Iden, just based on the fact that he had a bit of an issue in race 1 with the bike. Okay. So I saw a solid day.
Fair enough. But O'Halloran in 7th place in race number 2. Keith Farmer in 8th. And Andrew Irwin, rather anonymously, no disrespect, Andy, but 9th. But yeah, Ryan Vickers, again, double top 10 finish for him. Yeah,
brilliant result by Ryan Vickers. As you said, Andrew Irwin kind of went under the radar. We didn't really take too much notice of him coming through the field. Jason O'Halloran was a bit of a weird one. It came out in a story on Bike Sport News about a day afterwards that potentially he was racing with a broken arm that he'd done in testing a couple of weeks prior to the race. So he kept that quiet.
I did hear some rumours, but was it actually, did he confirm that he definitely was racing with a broken arm?
He didn't confirm. He wanted to get through the weekend before he before it came out that he had done. So it was it's a bit strange. Some riders do tell everyone after the weekend is done. Basically, I'm just thinking because they don't want all the attention being on their bad arm or whatever. I personally would be just telling everyone that I had a broken arm just so they would know why I was so far down the order.
Well, yeah, I suppose, and there's the flip side to that as well, in that some riders might not want the extra attention from the medical team as well, just to go through extra tests. Know, how's your collarbone there? Is it sort of hanging by a thread? Okay, well, not racing for you then. So as I think it was Iden at Silverstone last season, I think, or someone anyway, who did themselves a right old mischief and do their collarbone, and then they convinced the docs that they were okay to ride with a bust up old collarbone, which would definitely put me out of action for about 2 years. So,
and I know you're not kidding about that.
No, I am not. John Murdoch has been on. Hi, John. Tuned in to the Superbike show. Hello and welcome. He says, BSB, both races were boring. John. But that's his take on how things went. I mean, they certainly weren't action packs.
No, they weren't.
Anyway, but
it was quite funny because I was down at my parents' over the weekend, and my brother was watching it as well with us, and he was like, "Why can't any of these races just be good this weekend?" He was complaining about every race. The weekend was boring, according to him. Well, take it as you will. There were some interesting battles down the field. It wasn't the greatest BSB race we've ever seen around Alton Park. I enjoyed it.
I mean, like you say, it wasn't. If we have the same type of, if we have a Moto3 style race every single race, then we're not going to appreciate how good BSB can be. So sometimes we do need to. I
don't know. We all turn up for Moto3 knowing that if we get an 18-rider battle for the front, it's the most incredible thing you've ever witnessed in your life. That
can't realistically that's not sustainable from a fan's point of view. We can't have that every single round, because on the one occasion where it's just a normal race, i.e., there aren't 15, 20 bikes fighting for the lead on the last corner of the last lap, then we call that boring. If there's only 2 bikes fighting, as there was with Josh Brooks and Tommy Bridewell.
No, it's not boring. I mean, fighting, I wouldn't say we're just sort of chasing each other. There was no overtake for the lead. Josh Brooks led every single lap of both races, even though Tommy Bridewell was close by.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't get John's boring, point, though. I mean, there was still close, because Bridewell was fighting. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was a closer Formula One type race, if that, you know what I mean, where they're chasing each other. But that's about it. There was no sort of lunge for the lead. But to be fair, if that's what you like, then that's what you like. I personally like elbows out and people nearly knocking each other off the track, a bit of rivalry going on. That's the type of racing I like. So, but fingers crossed, if that does happen, they're all okay.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah, it's an opinion, and everyone has opinions, and we always invite people to give their opinion, so it is welcome. And so John, that's I wouldn't say there was a lot happening, and there was enough for me to be entertained with anyway, if only for the drone shots.
Those were spectacular.
If nothing else. I mean, at which point, when I was trying to figure out, where's that's an amazing shot. I had no idea who's leading the race or what race it was, but I was like, oh wow, this is cool.
You point. It was some bits were really good. There was a rider we never touched upon in race number 2 who produced a brilliant ride, and that was Peter Hickman from starting in pit lane, and he worked his way up to the 11th. So it was the tire pressures. He was taken off the grid for that or something. It was, unfortunately, I missed the start of the race, so I just got the information off my brother, which was a great shame for him to be starting from pit lane. But wow, what a ride coming through the field and only finishing 23 seconds or 21 seconds off the race win. So great ride. It wasn't quite a Neil Hodgson from Alton Park back in 2000, but as Jamie Whittam said, the depth in field is a lot greater now than it was back then, and got to give kudos to Peter Hickman, who chased Scott Redding really hard in race 1 and nearly beat the man.
Yeah, and he passed Brad Ray, as you say, to finish 11th in race number 2, and I'd actually forgotten all about that. He started from pit lane. That was well done to Peter Hickman, who is currently, let's say, #trending, in 5th place at the moment. almost tied with votes. He is actually tied with votes, actually, for the Rider of the Day from Monday. So Josh Brooks and Pete Aikman, right now, as I speak, are tied for 4th place in Rider of the Day. So
yeah, I'd say it's quite fair.
Not bad, I would say. For reference, Tommy Bridewell has 145 votes. Ryan Vickers, 52, but Danny Buchan, less so. And even less is Josh Brooks and Pete Aikman. As I say, it's probably already changed anyway by the time we've been talking. And it's just a bit of fun, Rider of the Day. And if it's adopted into BSB rules, it's copyright Lester Forbes, Superbike Show, Motorsport Radio 2019. Thank you.
I said it first.
Yeah, but I'm claiming it.
Whatever, as long as I get something from it.
However, so BSB, there was lots of nice little camera angles and lots of stuff going on, and also one other thing that I noticed in terms of TV coverage as well, and not necessarily BSB anyway, but this came to my attention on the social medias today, and it brought my memory back to when it was recorded, and I think he put it out on the social medias at the time. Bjorn Estent, he competed, now you might not know this, he competed, don't know when, sometime last year, in Ninja Warrior UK. I know.
I didn't know that.
Bjorn Estent.
I've seen Ninja Warrior UK and it's great fun to watch, but I never knew he was in that.
Yeah, he competed in that, and I was trying to find out just exactly how well he did, and well, basically, yeah, this is the how it all went for him. This is courtesy of ITV, Ninja Warrior.
Supersport races, 32, lives in Yorkshire.
And this is how he went on. How do you think, Liam, he got on? Bjorn Esment.
Well, considering the length of the video, I'm going to say not quite well.
Let's have a listen.
When I spoke to him before.
So he's on the I guess the easy part of the circuit.
Oh no way, he's doing this for laughs.
Is this going to be his Waterloo? Mamma mia, is he going to
Oh wow.
He's looking a bit shaky at the moment. He's not looking terribly confident. And he's just about finishing the first section right now. He's onto the rope and he's diving, but not quite. He's made a bit of a hash of that. And he's onto the second. If anyone's never seen Ninja Warrior UK, there's like loads of different sections, and he's now onto the second part of it, the little swing thing.
He's quite good at this wee swinging thing. He's better at this than he was at the first bit. Whoa. He's got a lot of fan support.
He knows it as well, doesn't he?
He's kind of messed this bit up, actually.
Yeah, he's lost his momentum.
Oh, Bjorn.
Come on. I want him to do so badly. Yes, no.
Oh. Dear, oh dear. Unbelievable. So that was how Bjorn Esment got on, i.e. not well at all.
That's such a shame, but so much fun to watch.
But yeah, thank you anyway for I suppose doing that. Bjorn, last year I think it was. Yeah, and I don't know if it was just aired on the TV recently, but it had just appeared online, and I thought I'd bring you that courtesy of ITV. Thank you for letting us do that. So Bjorn Esment on Ninja Warrior UK, which leads me on to another pertinent point that we have to answer. Who would do well at Ninja Warrior UK of the I suppose BSB lot?
That's a good question. You probably got to put Scott Redding up there. He's just crazy enough to do well at it.
You've got to be good at you've got to have upper body strength, which Bjorn doesn't. No disrespect, but I mean we just heard him splash into the water. But yeah, I suppose you've got
plop into the water.
Yeah, so you've got to have a lot of upper body muscles. So that's me out completely gone already. I'm already sat on the sidelines for this. You've got to have some pretty massive leg muscles to sort of propel you up to the wall as well, because they've got a little concave little wall that you've got to run up. Anyway, Ninja Warrior UK. Good on him for at least trying it. Something that I would not even qualify for, to be honest. I'd be out at the medical stage where they just eye me up and no, go and sit down.
You'd walk into the building and just turn your back around and send you back out.
Basically, yeah.
Not by trying here.
But that's the only instance of anyone that I know of that's done a type of thing on TV like that. If you know of any others who we can
name and shame,
highlight, then let us know. Get in touch on the old on the Twitterers. It's at M Sport Radio on Facebook. No, on Twitter. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook, and just leave a comment in the comments box below. But we're going to say, well done for trying it, Bjorn.
A for effort, Bjorn. Well done. I mean, you got further than I would have got as well.
Yeah, which isn't hard at all, is it?
Yeah, I would have got. At least I wouldn't might have made it a bit further than you. I probably would have got to the start line, but that would be it.
I wouldn't have even got in my shorts, to be honest. I wouldn't have even. But anyway, yeah, well done for that. And I just thought I'd bring that to you just because it was a noteworthy thing to do. As we do look down the grid, time is moving on, I think. As we do look down the grid to talk about other races that happened as well, because there were other races as well. Talking about some of the super sports races, just trying to have a quick look at some of the super sport races. I believe this is super sport race number 1 here, and it says race 2, but it was basically a repeat of BSB in that it was the top 2, Kennedy and Seeley, running away with it, but Brad Jones keeping them honest, basically, in super sport race number 1. I'm going to say that was. So Kennedy doing pretty well to win that, and by 3.6 seconds, I think, and Seeley finishing second, Brad Jones in third, Kyle Ryde in fourth place, Harry Truelove, Jamie Perrin, Josh Owens, and Charlie Nesbitt finishing in the top 10. Charlie Nesbitt, who you might recognise if you've been following the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, a usually regular competitor doing all right sometimes.
Most of the time.
Indeed. And there was the Super Sport. Is that the same one? I'm getting
that's the same one.
I'm getting mixed up with my things here. That's race 2, is it? Is it Super Sport?
That is race 2. It was quite a weird race too, because the lights
there was an identical top 4, I think.
Yeah, identical top 4.
That's what's confusing me. God, right. Okay.
The only way I know is because if you look further down the grid, you'll notice the Rory Skinner is in there, and I remember him being sort of 13th, but he didn't classify because he crashed out of the race because he tried to avoid a bike that was flying through the air, and he crashed out. So it was a real weird race too, because you might remember the lights wouldn't turn on for the start of the race, so they'd done about 3 warm-up laps until the engineer came out and sorted the lights.
I don't remember at all. I didn't make any comment about that whatsoever.
I knew there was a reason you were trying to avoid that.
Okay, so right, yeah, fine.
Moving on then.
Got me back. We like the Alton Park Marshals. I just want to say that. Anyway. So, Jack Kennedy and Seeley putting on a fantastic show. Brad Jones keeping them both honest. When's it going to be a win, though, Brad? That's what we want to know.
It's close. He's getting closer. I would. Jack Kennedy ran off with both races, but Brad Jones came very close to beating Alistair Seeley in both of them. Yeah. And Kyle Ryde on the Moto2 bike wasn't too far off either, so we could see a Moto2 race win. Some point this year. Yeah,
Thomas Strudwick finishing 11th. Just thought I'd mention that because did he finish? I think he had an incident in either quali or something somewhere. But yeah, to finish 11th in race 2, decent, I would say, for young Strudwick. And I was having a little meltdown then. I was thinking, that's the top 4. Oh my God, I've messed up here. But then I remembered that there was an identical top 4 for both races. So anyway, in the stock 600 class, which there was only one race of, it was Shane Richardson who vanished by
very much
8 nearly 9 seconds out in front, and basically the cameras just focused on McGlinchey, Clifford, and Hartgrove. And TJ Toms managed to put in a decent move on Ben Luxton as well, who is still receiving OMG Racing support this season. So, yeah, no comments about stock 600.
No,
it is what it is, I suppose.
It was just a clear off ride from Shane Richardson, and looked untouchable throughout the entire race. So fingers crossed it doesn't continue for the rest of the season, because we know the national stock National Superstock 600 class can be one of the closest championships.
Is he the New Zealander who made his debut? Yeah, I think it's slowly coming back to me now.
I think you're right.
Something.
The National Superstock 600 class is one that I didn't quite get to catch up on, but just managed to see the highlights. Now, the Mostar race was a very good race.
Well, funnily, you should say that. Because, it was... that's not even Motorstar, okay. I think this is Stock 1000. You know what I've done? I've messed up all my labels here. Ignore me.
Confusing everyone here.
I'm confusing myself. Anyway, it's late.
Because I was like, Taylor Mackenzie never raced in Motorstar. That was a 125s.
Fair enough.
When he was back there.
So this is Stock 1000 then. Is it? I'm not
yes,
sure.
Stock 1000,
okay.
Yes. And Richard Cooper winning again.
Right, yes, Cooper winning. Taylor Mackenzie in second. They put on a pretty good show together, didn't they? And also Alex Olsen in third place. Yeah,
those three look like, Richard Cooper, Taylor Mackenzie have looked the class of the field so far this year, and we know that how good riders they are, especially in the Superstock 1000 class. Both been champions of the past, and it looks like we could be seeing a titanic battle between those two for the championship. Richard Cooper is running away with it just a little bit, but Taylor Mackenzie could always reel it back in.
Decent, yeah. Just because we are short on time, now here's the Motostar race 1. It is Brandon Pash, I think. I think this is definitely race 1. I'm not sure anymore.
It is, because race 2 was a lot closer.
Okay, fair enough. Race number 1, Brandon Pash, getting the victory from Scott Swan, Jack Nixon in third place, Asher Durham in fourth, Josh Watley only fifth. I say only because regular listeners of the Cool Fab Racing British Minibikes Championship will know he is usually fighting up front in whatever category he's racing. Motostar, pretty decent. Oh, I think I can't remember if I watched this one. I don't think it was on the main Eurosport.
It
channel.
Wasn't. It was only race 2 that was on broadcast live. But race 2 was a great battle. It was something you would see at the front of a Moto3 race World Championship. Not a lot of racers were there, but there was 4 of them all battling it out, and Scott Swan he chased them down towards the end of the race and was just on fire, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. But Brandon Pash, the New Yorkan, is that how you call him? Is it New Yorkan? He's from New York anyway.
The New York resident? I don't know.
New York resident, the Big Appler, maybe?
American.
The apple seed, I don't know. the American, the guy from New York, and winning both races at the weekend. And to be fair, it was a tough race for him. He didn't have it all of his own way. I know the gap is 0.6 of a second, but that was a lot closer throughout the last few laps than what the lap times or the race results are showing. So it's going to be a great season to watch in the Motostar, which every season just seems to get a little bit more competitive. So it's always worth watching. Well,
it's basically a Cool Fab Racing grid. It's like a glorified Cool Fab, isn't it? Because so many names on there have come either directly out of the Cool Fab Racing British Minibikes Championship or have gone from that, tried a year in Spain, and then back over here, as definitely Josh Watley has done.
Yeah, and then there's Harvey Claridge, who races out Cool Fab every weekend in the Pit Bikes 140s and Extreme 200. So, and he's doing great guns. Unfortunately, finished down in 14th at the weekend, but we know that he's capable of more. But he is racing in the standard class at the moment, so they're kind of down on power compared to the fully fledged Moto3 bikes that some of them have got from the likes of the Jama Masia bike, which Brandon Pash races. He's got that from the Aspar team from last year, and the standard class, not quite as quick in a straight line, but can hold their own through the corners as well. So they will always lose out compared to the big KTMs and the big Hondas from the Moto3 World Championship.
Okay. And Motostar, we eventually got there in the end. I thought I was having like a stroke, and I was properly confusing myself. That's not the end of all the BSB news, however, because at the weekend there was this small matter of, and I know a lot of people are starting to get on to actually doing this, and we've mentioned it on the show before, and we will be mentioning it on the show again quite a lot as well. But the Superbikes Challenge. Yes, Superbikes Challenge, and it's a fantastic game. It's an app as well, and it's also on the website. Superbikes.challenge.uk is the web address where you can go. Google it, basically. There's only one Superbikes Challenge, and it's absolutely, totally free to play. And the reason why you should do it is because if you think that you are good enough at predicting things, so Liam, this is not necessarily for you, but if you think you're pretty good at predicting things, then you could win loads of great prizes. For the first place prize, you could win, I believe, a Lincoln Red experience and hospitality package, where Lincoln Red is some amazing beef, which we have actually tried, haven't we, Liam? That is actually beautiful, amazing, incredible beef, which is really nice. And you can get some first class hospitality over at JG Speedfit and Bournemouth Kawasaki. You could also win a crate of Trooper beer from, I think, the Robinsons brew that as well. There's loads of different, tons of different things, and that's just first place, basically. Have you ever seen, Liam, the Gadget Show?
Yes.
That's the answer. Gadget Show usually give away like a massive big hamper of a ridiculous amount of prizes each and every single week, and that's basically what the Superbikes Challenge is getting towards being, basically. So I mean, I literally, we don't have time to literally read out all of the different prizes, but we will certainly say that the winner of those prizes of the Superbikes Challenge from round 2 at Alton Park, who got basically the most points, were I've got a special graphic as well for all this. I did have, anyway. It's somewhere.
Have you labelled it right?
I have labelled it right. But yes, basically Dan Shaw, Matt Hallam, and Andy Barrell got all 31 points each. And there was these were the top 10 who got the most points from their predictions just from round 2. There is a full season long predictions game. It's probably the best predictions game anywhere right now, because not only do you get the glory of being able to tell all your mates and friends and family that you correctly predicted that, you know, so-and-so was going to win the race, but also you win some amazing prizes on all of the top 10 each week. Each round win prizes. It's free to play, Liam, so no excuse.
Yes. No excuse. I'm on minus 15 already because I predict the wrong people.
Well, there's still time to change it round, and you've got to be in it to win it, really. So, ultimately, you have got to at least try. So, it's really simple to get involved. You can either download the app. You can go onto the website, and it's I think they're in partnership with Quattroplant Kawasaki. It's free to play, as we said, and it's on your phone, on your tablet, totally free. And you can make your predictions for every single race, win prizes, obviously, some amazing stuff, and keep up to date with what prizes they are, because they change quite regularly. Superbikes Challenge, hashtag it's for the fans, Liam. So we will be doing that for the next round of BSB, which is in just a couple of weeks' time at Donington Park.
Yeah, and it's going to be the first time that Donington have used the national circuit or the international circuit since 2000. You might remember that one where it came down to the final race between Neil Hodgson and Chris Walker, and Chris Walker was leading the championship until his engine blew up. And you might remember him walking back to the paddock in floods of tears.
I get confused. Is the national circuit the one where they don't go around the Melbourne Loop?
Yes.
So they just cut the thing and they do.
Yeah, they just cut through the chicane and
that's
back onto the
national loop. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's good to see them go back to that one again, because many people think with the Melbourne Loop, it sort of ruins the track. So at least with this one, it keeps the flow of Donington Park alive.
Well, how they've changed that over the winter. If you've not been to Donington Park since last year or for a couple of years, they've redeveloped brilliantly, in my opinion, that whole area of the entrance where you used to, if you remember, walk in or out of, and you used to go by a rather boring stone wall, and you couldn't really see what was on the other side, the exciting part, which was the Melbourne Loop, the actual loop bit. So they've got rid of all of that, and now you've got basically a clear line of sight as you enter into Donington Park, the entrance.
My only memory of the entrance of Donington Park was me and my brothers getting shouted at with tent pegs, running up towards the campsite by our dad because we're dropping everything all over the place back in for the MotoGP round in 2004. So that's my only memory of that, and it was at night time as well, so I never saw the entrance.
Fair enough. Well, yeah. Anyway, I won't say anything because anyway, yeah. But yeah, we should get you down to Donington a lot.
I need to go back down to Donington. I've heard it's been redeveloped very nicely, so I need to check it out.
It has. That development actually won a Motorsport Award.
It did.
For best investment of any investment type thing. Not Circuit of Wales, not the Northern Ireland non-circuit, but yeah, the MSV redevelopment of or ongoing development of Donington Park won a Motorsport Award.
That's interesting you say that, because obviously Jonathan Palmer has sort of put investment into Donington to potentially bring MotoGP back from Silverstone.
Could do it. But this week Silverstone have started resurfacing the track and they've been given a contract extension to 2021. So it won't happen until at least 2022. So we think. I mean, just because they've got a contract and they've put some new tarmac down, or they've not tested the new tarmac.
Well, I don't think they've laid it all down yet, so they still need to test it. But apparently it's being done by a group this time that know what they're doing. The last one wasn't. It was like the cheapest option.
The last one... Yeah, anyway, let's not get on to slagging contractors off, because they might pave over my house. But anyway, so yeah, interesting to see what happens with the Silverstone and ongoing sort of tussle. Personally, I hope, anyway, that it does find its way back to Donington Park. MotoGP I'm talking about, if only because it's nearest my house. So there you go. By the way, just to end the show with, I thought I'd refer back to our Superbike show poll in terms of who was the best rider of the day, who impressed more than anybody else, and who outperformed your expectations. Well, the fans have spoken officially.
What have they said?
They've said Tommy Bridewell was the rider of the day. Ryan Vickers came in second. Brilliant results. And Danny Buchan in third. Peter Hickman and Josh Brooks. Well, Peter Hickman just nicks it for fourth place for rider of the day, just by 1 point, as I'm reading this out. Josh Brooks in fifth for rider of the day. There were other people. Dean Harrison in sixth. Scott Redding, Kyle Ride, Keith Farmer. Somebody put Mick Doohan.
What?
And yeah, it gets kind of comical towards the bottom of the.
Okay, what's the worst thing you've seen?
I can't really say, because that would be disrespectful to the person who it. Yeah. Anyway, congratulations to Tommy Bridewell, the Superbike Show Rider of the Day. For round two of the of BSB. So that is it for the Superbike Show, another Superbike Show here on Motorsport Radio. Thank you very much for listening, and we will do it not next week, because we'll be preparing, Liam, for round 3 of Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, and we will be doing live radio coverage and live video as well.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
It will be, yes. and it'll be the first time that Motorsport Media would have filmed live video with proper cameramen and everything, the proper production, the whole thing.
And a drone?
No drone. I've got too much to do. But I will try my best to not go overboard and make everything super dramatic. But it's tempting to do that, and that's probably what I will do. So it'll be literally like race one, super dramatic music and everything. But anyway, tune in. We'll be streaming it live here and basically everywhere. We're just everywhere. My ambition is to have it everywhere. And that's what I'll probably do. So it'll be on the BSB Support fans group. It'll be plastered all over loads of MotoGP Facebook groups because it is on the road to MotoGP. And also it'll be on all over Motorsport Radio and on the Cool Fab Racing website and social media channels as well. Anyway, but that's on that's Saturday, Sunday. And by the way, fans of Formula E, Liam, this weekend, on Saturday, if you didn't know, we've got live radio coverage, official radio coverage of the ABB FIA Formula E Championship right here on Motorsport Radio. Not everybody tuned in right now is going to be a fan, but give it a chance because it is future of motorsport, though, isn't it? So, you know.
Fantastic racing.
And we're so proud to be able to bring a prestigious world championship to Motorsport Radio. Amazing. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. What will you be doing over the weekend, Liam?
I will be working and watching some Formula E.
Well, to be honest, your work is kind of motorsport related, so that...
Okay, yeah, so I will be doing everything in motorsport.
It's not like he's cleaning the toilets at Tesco or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But,
yeah, I've done that once. So I know I've tried everything. Tried my hand at everything. So yeah, bit of motorsport, working in motorsport, watching some Formula E, and of course some World Superbikes.
And I'll be out at Cadwell Park at the weekend, filming some car racing. So that'll be good. So let us know what you're up to, whether you're racing, what you're doing, where are you. Let us know. Get in touch. And that is the end of the show, definitely. This time round. Thank you very much, Liam. Thank you for tuning in to you as well. And we'll be back soon, I suppose. All right, cool.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Play some